If you are thinking about picking one up, I just want to walk you through my experience actually riding it, living with it for regular errands, and taking it onto some rougher paths where comfort matters more than speed. At a basic level, this is a full suspension step-through electric bike with fat tires. The whole point, at least in how it rides, is to make bad pavement and chunky gravel feel less annoying, and to let you cover distance without feeling like you are doing a workout the entire time. The kind of rider I see getting along with this is someone who wants a relaxed ride, someone who values comfort and range, someone who likes the idea of using a throttle when they feel tired, and someone who might also need a higher weight capacity than a lot of casual electric bikes offer. The first thing I noticed riding it is how much it takes the edge off. On streets that usually have me bracing for cracks, patched asphalt, and those little pothole lips, this bike feels like it rounds everything over. It is not magic. It is just the combination of fat tires plus front and rear suspension. The result, for me, was that I rode longer without that slow build of fatigue you get from constant vibration. It feels simple and cushy, and it does not ask much effort from me to keep moving. This bike is also physically big. You feel it when you stand next to it, and you definitely feel it when you have to move it around by hand. Mine weighed a bit over 80 pounds on my scale. On the road, that weight actually helps in a couple of ways. It tracks steady, it feels planted, and it does not get twitchy at speed. The downside is the part nobody likes talking about. Lifting it is a chore. If you need to carry your bike upstairs, or you have a car rack that requires you to hoist the whole thing up high, this is the moment where you are going to rethink your routine. The frame itself looks clean in person because the battery is tucked into the frame instead of being a big obvious brick strapped on. The step-through design keeps the stand over low, which makes starts and stops easier for me, especially when I am wearing normal shoes or carrying a bag. One thing I did notice is that the rear shock sits right down in that step-through area. I can still step through, but it is not as open as some step-through frames that do not have rear suspension. It is not a deal breaker, but it is something I noticed every time I got on and off. The tires are 26 inches by 4 inches, and they give it that wide stance that feels secure on loose surfaces. On packed gravel and sandy patches, I felt more relaxed than I do on a normal commuter tire. It does not turn it into a mountain bike for technical trails, but it does make mixed surfaces less stressful. In terms of build, what I can say from handling it and riding it is that it feels solid. The brakes on my bike are hydraulic disc brakes, and they have a strong bite. When I needed to stop fast, I had the power I wanted at the lever without having to death grip it. I did notice a little bit of shudder from the back end during one hard panic stop, and my guess is the rear suspension was moving around under that load. It was not scary, but it was noticeable. The cockpit layout made sense right away. The throttle is on the right side and the assist controls are on the left. My unit came with a Shimano 7-speed drivetrain and a trigger shifter, which I prefer because it is easier to control when the surface gets bumpy. The display is full color, and I could read it in bright sun without having to shade it with my hand. Setup was pretty normal for a shipped electric bike. I had the usual stuff to straighten, tighten, and align. After that, the day-to-day use is pretty straightforward. The bike I received came during a promotion that included a bunch of accessories like a rear rack, fenders, mirrors, a phone mount, a lock, a pump, and a bottle holder. I am not going to sell you on accessories, but I will say it saved me time because I did not have to go shopping for the basics to make it usable for commuting right away. On the road, the assist behavior tells you a lot about what this bike is built for. It uses a cadence sensor, not a torque sensor. In plain terms, when I turn the pedals, it gives me power based on the assist level, not based on how hard I am pushing. That makes the ride feel easy, and a little bit like cruise control for your legs. If you want that natural feeling where the motor matches your effort like an extension of your body, that is not what this feels like. If you want to spin the pedals lightly and let the motor do most of the work, this bike is friendly to that. The assist ramp felt predictable through the 5 levels. In the middle setting, I was cruising around 20 to 22 miles per hour without really trying. In the highest assist level, I saw 30 miles per hour on flat ground on my display. That is faster than I need for most rides, so I went into the settings and lowered the top speed to keep it more reasonable for where I ride. The throttle on mine topped out around 20 miles per hour by default, and that ended up being the speed I used most when I wanted a break from pedaling, like when I was rolling through stop and go traffic, or when my legs were tired at the end of a longer loop. Hills are where the weight and tuning show up. I would describe it as a fast cruiser, not a mountain goat. On steep grades using throttle only, it slows down more than I want, especially considering how heavy the bike is. When I used the highest assist level and actually pedaled with it, it held a decent pace and felt pretty normal for a fat tire electric bike in this category. So if your plan is to climb a lot of steep hills without pedaling, I do not think that is the sweet spot. If you are willing to help with the pedals, it is fine. Range is the part that kept impressing me because the battery is large. This one is a 48-volt, 20-amp-hour pack, which works out to 960 watt-hours. In real riding terms, that meant I could do long rides without staring at the battery meter the whole time. On calm paths using the lowest assist level, I stretched it past 70 miles and still had battery left. On my normal commute using a middle assist level, with me around 200 pounds plus a backpack, I got right around 40 miles on a charge. When I rode more aggressively and used more throttle on trails, 30 to 50 miles felt realistic depending on wind, temperature, and how much I helped with pedaling. Charging is slower than I would like, mainly because the included charger is 2 amps. From low to full, mine typically took around 9.5 to 10 hours. For my routine it was fine because I just plugged it in overnight, but if you forget to charge and you want to ride the same day, you are not going to get a quick refill in an hour or two. The suspension feel is more about comfort than control. The fork on mine is adjustable and it has a lockout, which I used on smoother pavement to reduce that bouncy feeling. On colder mornings, I noticed a bit of stickiness right at the start of the fork movement, like it needed a moment to free up. After a few trail rides, I also heard a light creak that seemed to come and go. To me, that is the reality of an entry-level full suspension setup carrying a heavy bike. It is plush and forgiving, but it is not refined. The good news is that on the surfaces most people will ride, pavement, broken pavement, gravel paths and mellow trails, it gives that floating feeling that makes rides easier on your body. A couple of smaller things helped in daily use. Walk mode made it easier to push up ramps, which matters because of the weight. The integrated lights were also nice because I did not have to remember to charge separate light batteries. So after living with it, my overall impression is that this bike does what it seems built to do. It is comfortable, stable, and it makes it easy to ride far without feeling beat up. The big downsides for me are the weight, the long charge time, and the fact that the cadence sensor feel is not as natural as a torque sensor if you care about that. The suspension also has the little quirks I mentioned, like some noise and a bit of stickiness, which I would keep an eye on with basic maintenance. If your goal is a relaxed electric bike for commuting, errands, or long mixed surface rides where you want comfort and you want to stop worrying about range, I think it makes sense. If you need something light to carry upstairs, or you want a more athletic pedaling feel, or you plan on a lot of steep throttle-only climbing, I would look at other options. To learn more about the PUCKIPUPPY Boxer ST, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.